about 10 years ago and have been absorbed into the folk traditions of this county. And so I'm going to play for you a tune that kind of has bounced around the world quite a lot. It's known as Oranges in Bloom. It's also known as the Sherborne Waltz in America. It exists in Canada and France as well, and it's just kind of travelled across with people over quite a few years. So this is, as I know it, Oranges in Bloom.
Lindsay, will you come over here just for 1 second? We're just going to say hello from the three chaplaincies represented. Welcome from the University of Sheffield Chaplaincy Centre.
And welcome from the Sheffield Hallam University Multi-Faith Chaplaincy Centre.
And welcome as well from Sheffield Teaching University Hospitals.
From the chaplaincy. Okay, so now we have our script. That's our words of welcome. So we're going to do our script from here.
When the men went to war, the women became the heart of this town of Sheffield. These women were ordinary folk, and much of their work was hard and tough and focused on building items for the war. Although war memorials all over the city named and revered the sacrifices of many men, it was only 6 years years ago that the memorial was sculpted to celebrate the women's contribution. The book, The Women of Steel, How the Women of Sheffield Helped Win the War, tells their important, if not entirely rosy, story. Speaking of winning in the context of conflict is not without irony. Perhaps for the people of Sheffield, some thought of seeking the liberation of Europe from dictatorship, while many hope for just a bit of peace, please.
Sheffield's track record on emancipation goes back a long way, and we referenced some of these on Monday. We deliberately mentioned them again here to name what has happened at the heart of this town.
Religious emancipation at the heart of this town. Religious emancipation has a long history here in Sheffield. The first non-conformist chapel opened in 1678. Baptist, Congregational, Independent, Methodist, Presbyterians, Quakers, and Unitarians, and then, last of all, Catholic emancipation in 1829. All these had a presence here in Sheffield in the 19th and 20th centuries.
Religion and belief freedom are the heart of this town. This city and its region previously had 7 synagogues. We hope that our future will see greater numbers of synagogues once more. And then came the flourishing of many religions in the 20th century. The British Raj Army was stationed here, and there were many Sikhs, Muslims, and Hindus here in our city from the beginning of the 1900s. Permanent community arrangements began in earnest 70 years ago. A Hindu Samaj in the 1950s, and the earliest of 25 mosques opened in 1958. The present Sikh community began their first permanent Gurdwara at a similar time, and Buddhist centres began to open. And not too many years later, the Baha'i had begun a spiritual assembly for our city of many beliefs and religions. And these were in addition to the long-standing humanist networks here.
Fighting for women's suffrage at the heart of this town. Some of the earliest meetings of women campaigning to be allowed to vote took place in Sheffield. It was working class women from Sheffield who set up the Women's Rights Association. Abaya Higginbottom, the wife of a code maker, Anne Knight, a prominent campaigner for the abolition of slavery, led the Sheffield women who organised the first UK petition on women's suffrage.
Liberation from slavery at the heart of this town. We learned at our opening of Sheffielders campaigning for the emancipation of those enslaved in North America and the Caribbean. Freed slaves, those who had been enslaved, Alauda, Equiano and Ottabar Cuguano spoke at anti-slavery meetings here in Sheffield.
Emancipation of workers at the heart of this town. Some of the first trade unions in the UK sprang from Sheffield, and our city was a key base for thousands of miners who suffered the punishing strikes of the 1980s.
Diversity and hope at the heart of this town. Sheffield is a city of many cultures and languages and places for worship and contemplation. The women of steel, the suffragettes, the miners, the campaigners against slavery, all embody a sense of how in imperfect, difficult, dangerous,
even war-torn times, with dark clouds hanging over everything, that people can find new ways and new routes to join together, to move to the heart of the town.
Chaplains empowering people to the heart of many towns. And this week we've seen how chaplaincy can be a powerful agent for change in a university and other diverse settings. And as we've shared best practice and good ideas and learned so many new possibilities, we can reflect on what kind of legacy we leave, what kind of liberty we bring, and what kind of leadership we will foster. We have the opportunity to use our work to be powerful change agents for the benefits of those who we serve. To put those most marginalized at the center and at the heart.
Many of those we serve are marginalised. We might like to write their names at the edges of our origami sheets. Then, as we fold them closer in, they will move to the heart of our sculptures. But first, some music.
I'm going to play a set of two tunes for you now. The first is a Morris dance tune, a traditional type of dance from England. It dates back, well actually it's quite a modern tune, it's called Porter, so it was written after one of the 5 rivers in Sheffield. But Morris dancing is a very old tradition and has quite a lot of links to women's rights. And it was at one of the Morris meetings by, just shout. I'm a teacher, so just shout, okay. It dates back to one of the many meetings held by a woman called Mary Neal, who was inspirational in London in the early 1920s, 1920s, and it was at one of her meetings which was aimed at getting working class girls in London into the traditional arts that Emily Pankhurst first met some of her co-feminists, as it were, at the time. So this first tune is a Morris tune called Porter, and then I'll finish with one of my favourite tunes that I play for a bunch of amazing women called Sheffield Steel Rapper, which is a type of traditional sword dancing that we do in Sheffield. So this is my traditional dance set. It's quite warm, so let me just tune up. Sorry, it's very warm in here.
How can I follow that? Okay. So it's my honour again to take part in this conversation. It's been wonderful meeting you all, hearing your ideas and seeing this kind of sense of community and connections that have developed. So I'm going to end with a poem called Women of Steel. The Women of Steel you can see on the banner. They've been with us throughout the conference. It's a poem that was written for National Poetry Day for BBC Radio at Sheffield. And I was asked to write about something very local, but what I hope that it is a poem that is rooted very locally, but also that speaks to the strength of community and the kind of changes we can make when we come together in spaces like this and connect. So if you want to follow the poem, it's in the back of the handbook. And I hope you enjoy it. Thank you. It's been a real honour to be here with you all. Women of Steel. We are sisters who clank through the streets, on rustless feet and chain-linked arms, the deep full of awe in our loins. Calls of ancestors deep in the rock of yoke and plum and rust. I polish her toes till they shine. She deserves this at least, and I know that she polished mine. We are women of steel. Women who do what we feel, women who do what we can. Women who cry, women who rise, women at the heart of this town. My nipples eat steel milk, and she keeps holding me up. We are women who labour and birth, women who work, women who juggle dark peaks and light, women who do what we can. When Cleethorp's too dear, there's a beach in town, the patch of sand that scratches our palms, sisters of steel squatting down. She wipes orange streams from my tears, and I keep holding me up. We are women of steel, of hijab and braid, of curly and straight, of blonde hair and white. Women who run, women who ride, women who lathe and grind without. Women who lathe and grind without gloves. We are women of 3 kids and twins on the way, and just a bit of peace. Just a bit of peace, please. She wipes crystal dust from my nails, keeps holding me up. We are women of hills, of limestone and grit, of ups and downs, of you can do it, duck, we'll get through it. We are women who nobody knows. Guilt-plated girls with blackened legs, women of glad rags, of red crabs, of keeping bags back from the food bank. We are women of steel. I grip her shoulder, keep holding her up. Women who do what we feel, women who do what we can, women who cry, women who rise, women at the heart of the sun. Thank you.
It seems it's a long time since we had our opening ceremony. It's been such a rich week. You remember at our opening ceremony, we kind of set sail. We went onto a journey, and what a journey it was. And today, in our closing ceremony, the idea is to create lilies. So they look about something like that. I have to admit, I'm a total nitwit when it comes to these things. we Germans have a saying, we say somebody has only left hands. So all the left-handers could translate it, only right hands. All the people, the English equivalent is actually to be all thumbs, which is in a way actually more fitting. So don't expect me to do this, but on the last page, there are a few sheets here. We do know that there are some experts hidden amongst you because we had some awesome votes, and we had also other things. We had paper hats and cranes. So by all means, do the thing you're comfortable with. And the instruction is on page 137. And make it a thing where you talk to your neighbor and try together to suss it out. And take home these lilies of love and friendship. You can do it. And at the end, we all go onto our sea here in the front.
Now, as we come to our close, we have to say words of goodbye. And if you would come, if you want to, would you come just up to this microphone and say a phrase of goodbye in your first language? Just come and join me here. If anybody would come and do this in Swedish and Finnish, and in different languages from Malawi and from Nigeria and maybe Kenya and in Dutch and in Aussie. You just come and say a phrase of goodbye. And then Nicola will play a last tune and then we'll go for coffee. And in German. Just come round.
Danke allen eine gute Heimreise. Kommt gut zu Hause an und viele Grüße. Nehmt viele gute Ideen mit. Ich habe hier was in der Hand, wer das noch nicht hat. Unser neues Buch von CUC kann noch Buchmarken haben.
I didn't understand a word of that, but I thoroughly enjoyed it. Anyway, Sat Sri Akal, Namaste, Assalamu Alaikum, Wa Alaikum Salam. That's all I know.
Right, let me first say thank you very much for this wonderful conference. For my language, I want to say Adúpẹ́ gidigidi o. Ẹ ṣé o, agbádùn gbogbo ètò tí a ṣe níbí báyìí. Ọlọ́run yóò kó fún wa, Ọlọ́run yóò wà pẹ̀lú wa, ó dìgbà.
I'm going to go with two words. Kiitos, which is thank you, and Juramata, safe travel, section, that was 3 words.
Goodbye and blessing in Swiss German. Es war eine wunderbare Konferenz, die Hände gut seit der Tag, super, mega cool, Gott bewegt.
Quick words, thanks in Dutch. Het was een leuke gezellig, zeer inspirerend en heel zeker. Dank u wel.
Goodbye and all the best in Gujarati, one of the languages of Indian origin. તમને બધાને ખૂબ જ સારા સુભાષિસ આપું છું તમારી ફોરવર્ડ તમારી યાત્રા માટે અને ખૂબ ખૂબ આભાર.
जाना खुदा पे अल्लाह ने वाला
बस तुम्हें क्या वाले
May the Lord rise up to meet you. May the winds be ever at your back. May the sun shine warm upon your face. The rains fall soft upon your fields. And until we meet again, may God hold you in the palm of his hand. Goodbye. It was nice to be in your midst, in Malawian Chewa language. Thank you.
Kiswahili lugha ya Afrika Mashariki, tunashukuru sana kwa hapa, mubarikiwe, asanteni sana.
In Malawi anitumbuka weseta karama kora shomene chuta mtumbikeni mwende makora para mkuwera ndege zose chuta amfikirene yewo.
Malawi is going to Chewa, that's our common language, and it's come one meaning. Kwa chotisa maila kuna jinaja kuna mimba zakura chonti na kwa oda matakura mimba chonti abuya kuganiseni sikomu kwa miri.
My first language is American English, and I've been learning Welsh, the language of heaven. So I'll say thank you and goodbye. Jokenbouw and Hollebouw. Northeast of England, Gam Canning.
Robin, can you come here? I can't do this without you. I'm not a chaplain at you. Rather than what I am. You've at the start of my journey, and you've played a big part. And now I'm here. I'm in this room, and I really don't know what to say. I didn't want to conquer chaplain conferences because they're a bit fluffy and boring. But I truly feel we came as strangers, we ate as friends, and I pray to God we're leaving this family. Truly. I hope that, and I was aspirational. And he was the brother that I didn't know, that was inspiring, the father figure. And I can't, it's incomplete. My chaplaincy truly is incomplete without Robin. And I feel like, it feels now it will be incomplete without the rest of this that I will carry forward. May peace be with you, may courage be with you, may truth be with you, may the light of faith be with you. May you all be protected in your undertakings of your various forms of service. And forgive me for any shortcomings, forgive us all. We do this in the service, and I will be taking something everlasting away. So honestly, thank you sincerely from the bottom of my heart. Bless you all. We will say Allah Hafiz. So Allah Hafiz.
Joel. This is the last one, the last tune from Nicola, and then we'll go back to
It was great to have you all here in Sheffield. We're so happy to hold this conference, and I'm going to speak in French. C'était merveilleux de vous avoir tous ici, et nous vous souhaitons un bon retour, sans que vous direz que le bon Dieu soit avec vous et que vous soyez bénis.
One last tune and then we'll go downstairs.